Hey everyone, Andre here, and as you can see, we're joined by a very special cast today, cast members is almost kind of fitting actually, but being the cast or the crew behind the Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom Adventure, being the 50th celebration of Walt Disney World in Minecraft. They made this amazing recreation of the Magic Kingdom from Walt Disney World in Minecraft itself. I did a 4-hour tour of it almost on stream. I still didn't see it all, so I had to talk to the team behind it as both a huge video game fan and Disney fan. So I wanted to say a warm welcome to all of you. How are you all doing today?
Great, thank you for having us.
Yep, pretty good.
Perfect. I'm excited to talk with you all again, I should say, because while I was streaming, we've had something we've never had before where a few of you, plus maybe a few others who aren't here, popped into my stream or actually answering questions live during and telling me where to find all the little secrets and Easter eggs and all the details, and that was an amazing experience. I wanted to thank you for hopping in for that, for a really memorable stream, even beyond what was already a truly memorable experience. So
it was really great for us, as I can obviously only speak for myself, but it was so amazing watching somebody play a game that we worked on for so long be released out there and being like there with them, experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah. I mean, that's the funny thing about it. Like, I was experiencing it for the first time, and yet it was almost like a sense of deja vu, because I know this place. I've been here before. It's a little blockier now, but yeah, it's such an amazing recreation of Magic Kingdom that it felt like I was truly there, which is fitting for being in the pandemic, where travel is a little more limited, or at least was. So before we get too deep into this, let's have you all introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you did for this specific project.
So yes, my name is Elon Comrade, or the Redstone Scientist, or TRS, and I am the creative director and project manager at Everbloom Games, and I was the creative director on this project as well. And I've been with Everbloom since the marketplace started. Not as long as Tiana's been there, but I started out doing YouTube videos about Minecraft command blocks and map making and sort of doing educational content. And then Everbloom reached out to me and was like, hey, there's this marketplace thing starting. Can you help us create a development team? And then now I'm here.
My name's Tian Fig, otherwise known as Ninja in the Minecraft community. I was art director on this map, and I also did a bunch of the assets. So obviously a lot of the direction of the game, the management of the art team, and a whole lot of planning. I worked on models and textures for a number of rides, merchandise you find in the park, block textures, park assets, cast members, and the characters like Mickey Mouse, obviously, the character creator items, and the 3D skins. I've been in Minecraft now for a very long time, since my early teens. It was kind of like my first job, I guess. I started just doing commissions for random servers, and from then I joined Everbloom, Everbloom Studios as it was referred to as back then. And I've been there for about 5 years now. So from just before the marketplace kind of came about, and then obviously I followed the journey onto the marketplace, which has been really cool.
Very nice. All right.
Yeah, I can start also. So I'm Borja Ruiz from Spain, and I started with Everbloom around 3 years ago, I think. And I'm a concept artist.
Time flies, wow.
Yeah. It seems smaller, but I think it's around 3 years. And I'm a concept artist there. So I usually draw the concepts before other team members model and texture all the characters in the game. Also vehicles and stuff like that. And I was in this game, in this map, in the Magic Kingdom map, I was expert advisor, and I worked with all the teams trying to if everything was all right. I watched videos of the real theme park 100 times with Ninja to see if this music was okay in this part. I had questions from other team members about, is this right? Is this, what can we do to to make this better and things like that. So that's what I did with this map. And I've been I'm pretty old, even if I look younger. I've been in this industry like since 15 years ago. I worked with Fifthel, making the Scribblenauts games.
Oh wow!
On the Wii U and on PC, Switch. Not Switch. On the DS, the DC one also. Also, I think I entered Everbloom thanks to I did some mascot for Planet Coaster also in one of the contests, and TRS saw some of my work on Twitter and he liked it, so that's how I got the job here.
I didn't reach out intending for a job. I was just like, you seem pretty cool. Let's talk. And you were like, yeah, I'm looking for work. I was like, perfect.
Yeah, and that's how it started with them. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. And last but not least, we have Kyle, right?
Yeah, Kyle. I'm Kyle Martin, known as Kylidian on everything basically. I was composer of original music on this map, primarily is what I did, including the trailer and the fireworks show were the two biggest things that I did. In addition to that, I did some sound design on this, and then the other large thing that I did was I did the first initial pass of planning out every sound effect in Disney World.
That's a lot.
It was an experience.
So are you guys, I guess I have to ask right away, are you all Disney fans, or are some of you like somewhat Disney fans, or there we go. Yeah, got a shirt right there. Perfect.
And this is not my room. I'm on vacation now, so this is my cousin's room. But if you see my real office, it's all with Disney stuff like books of Imagineering books and stuff like that everywhere. So I'm a pretty huge fan.
Are you on vacation at Disney right now?
No, I'm on a region, Spain, Catalonia, with my family. Because I haven't been with my grandparents since this started, like the pandemic.
Right.
So this is just seeing the family again.
Well, thanks for taking time out of your vacation.
A Disney fan?
Yeah, I'd say most people are probably Disney fans in some respect.
We have some people
everyone is.
Yeah, we have some people on the team who are like not really that into it, or like, you know, they're not quite sure like what's Disney, what's, you know, a different company or something. Mostly just because of like not everybody was familiar with the park just because of like geographical concerns, but everybody was super excited to work on it, obviously.
Totally right. So I guess then, where do you start with a project like this? I mean, what was the initial? Did the end result end up being the initial scope of it all? Because of course, you know, Disney World itself is 50 years old. It has 4 parks and water parks, hotels. Like you could, there's an endless amount of content you could build. But so was the initial idea always to focus on the Magic Kingdom itself, which of course is technically one of the only things that was there 50 years ago when it first opened. So was that kind of the idea, or can you tell us a little bit about how?
Well, obviously, the purpose and promotion behind it was the Magic Kingdom 50th anniversary. But in the beginning, we were like, okay, well, we want to do something. We obviously want to recreate Disney, but to what extent was the question. Originally, and I think everybody's very grateful for this, that we didn't do this, is that originally we were thinking, well, let's do all the parks. Let's do all the parks because, and like we'll be selective about which rides we do. And then we were thinking like, okay, well, let's just think about Small World alone. Let's think about all the things in there. Do we really want to like cut corners there? Do we really want to be like, oh, well, let's just do some of the figures? That's not going to be nice. People aren't going to be happy with it. So eventually we pitched the idea of just the Magic Kingdom. And essentially I made a pitch presentation for Disney. And we were already, in contact, but they were like, what do you want to do? So I made this pitch presentation and was like, okay, well, we've sort of analyzed all the rides already. And these are the ones that we think we can do in the time we're given. These are the ones we can't do. We think we can do like 3 out of 5 of the big rides, and like we'll leave it up to Disney which ones you want us to do. So, for example, we didn't do The Little Mermaid or Winnie the Pooh. Ninja can tell you more about why we didn't, but just to finish answering your question, after that we went and Disney like approved it. We went back to Ninja and Ridley for like, what are you gonna how are we going to do this? Let's figure out what are the high scope things, what are the low scope things, where do we go from here? Sound team with Kyle, figuring out what are the different sounds we need. Our lead developer, Energixer, who isn't here, what is the infrastructure that we're going to need to pull this off? And everybody's sort of figuring out what are those first steps.
Got it. So yeah, it sounds like regardless, it's a very ambitious project. Because I was playing through it and I'm like, how is this all almost exactly to my memory?
I would hazard a guess that it's probably the most expensive map anyone's ever made.
and the fact it's what, only $10 I think on the marketplace. It's like, which is of course a fraction of what it actually costs to go to Disney. So this is really more than pays for itself. So just so our audience understands, like, you didn't just build the park like Magic Kingdom, but you have these rides, or most of these rides, fully recreated here with basically it's seemingly 1-to-1. Like, I went on Pirates of the Caribbean, and everything I remember was there. But you did mention real quick that there were some rides that didn't quite make the cut, and so I think you said there might have been some reason as to why, or how did that work out?
Yeah, so specifically referencing things like Winnie the Pooh, that ride is essentially so complex that we'd have to entirely model each room. So each room would have to be its own model and made up of lots of different little parts. There's so much detail in those rides that it's just not a reasonable expectation to replicate that in Minecraft. And then for rides like The Little Mermaid, it relies a lot on projection mapping and lots of light effects that are not necessarily easy to do in Minecraft or even possible.
Right.
So we couldn't kind of give that full recreation that we'd want to do. We couldn't quite give it justice. So we decided to focus on those that we kind of knew that we could do well. Yeah, lighting in Minecraft is always going to be a tricky thing to do. So
the fact it was as accurate as it was blowing my mind. As one who, to be fair, hasn't played a ton of Minecraft, I'm like, I didn't know you could do this in this game. So, is that also?
I don't think we even knew how to expect, because we have things like Buzz Lightyear, which are completely different. Like, if you see it, like you see, oh my God, this is never done in Minecraft. Like the part in space, which is a screen in the real ride. And I think it was Energy, right? The one who made the right. He's a genius.
Energixer, who I mentioned earlier, was the lead developer.
I don't know how he did it, but he did this magical particle effect where it actually looks like a 3D screen. And then we use one of the pixel art animations of our pixel artist, John, one of our pixel artists, that he's like really good at pixel art. And we made like a flat model that moved around you, and it really looks like a 3D screen. So it's really, I didn't know that it was gonna look that good until I saw the ride and I said, oh my God, you're a genius, Energy. You're amazing.
On the subject of pixel art, I just wanted to add one thing, which is that some people see like the graphics in the park and they're like, oh, look at that. They sort of pixelized the graphic. No, we didn't take something and pixelize. That's all done by hand. Every single one is a unique work of art. From the logos to which were, had to be recreated from the originals. Often Disney didn't even have the original, and we had to use pictures to figure it out. And to the gorgeous murals in the castle, all of those are original works of art.
That's mind-blowing. Yeah, I remember looking at the murals in the castle. I'm like, this is impressive.
Those were not planned, actually.
Yeah, we almost didn't do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we almost didn't, but going down that corridor, it just feels like you're missing them. And John, who did those murals, he gets work pumped out so quickly that it actually really didn't take him long at all. So it was definitely worth it, especially for the visual impact of walking down that corridor and the accuracy as well. It was well worth it. Yeah,
he created like a dithering technique, like so it looks like a mosaic even, and it's so amazing. And we feed them, like we had to feed them in the space, and it was a lot of work, but I think they look amazing.
They do, yeah, they really do. I mean, there's all kinds of neat details here and effects that just constantly impress, especially as one who's been there and have seen these things in real life. I'm like, wow, I didn't expect them to recreate it here. So I guess was there anything in particular that was harder to recreate than something else? Like, were there any challenges here that were unique compared to some of the other maps you've worked on? Tell us a little bit more about how that all worked out.
Well, I can speak from a development perspective because even though Energixer was the lead developer, I am the, I suppose, developer manager as well. So there were a lot of challenges, mostly in the infrastructure of this. In like, we had to develop things for like, how are we going to do these long sequences of stuff, time it out properly. One of the bigger challenges was the music system, making sure that we have that. We use that music system in everything we do actually, but we had to make some tweaks for this. How are we going to make sure that, you know, things transition properly, that things feel right? How are we going to support multiplayer? There were a lot of considerations that had to go into this. The map, obviously, which is amazing, and none of us expected. We just knew Energy was going to do something with the map. We didn't know what he was going to do. The mirrors in the Haunted Mansion was another big surprise. That, you know, how are we going to pull that off?
Right.
That's a new thing that we definitely want to use in our future work. To do mirrors, all sorts of really unique and interesting problems when it comes to recreating something versus inventing something. Because when you're inventing something, you already have those limitations in your head of like, okay, here's my prior experience and I know what I can build from this. But when you have actual source material, you think, okay, well, wouldn't it be cool if we could pull that off though? Is there any way we can make it work? And it ended up, I think, creating a lot more creative opportunities for us, for the developers at least.
Right, because I noticed like there's a ton of classic effects that Disney uses. I mean, they're classic because Disney uses them in their rides that are incredibly effective to this day, even, you know, decades later. So did you use similar techniques for when you were creating some of the content here? Like for example, one of the famous effects of the Haunted Mansion is the Pepper Ghost effect, where you have like basically a large. Sorry, I'm spoiling the magic for some people. I wish we had done
that for real. That would have been great.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, is it possible using net reflections, or you know, there's other examples like that, but
no. But speaking of you know the technical challenges, though, Kyle can tell you know why the sound design for this was quite different.
It was a lot of planning for the sound design, to be honest, because it was a lot of watching videos just over and over and over and just trying to like hear and be like, okay, where's that sound coming from? What is that sound? And then all of a sudden, you know, I was telling everybody on this, I was like, there's going to be sounds that we aren't going to catch.
Yep.
And then as we're making them, they're going to come in. And, you know, truth be told, there was way more than anybody on the sound team was even anticipating with that.
There's a lot of stuff in there that you can't even hear in the real thing.
Yeah, it was unreal. And so, you know, it was, you know, my initial job was really trying to predict, you know, what's going to come out of this and how can we recreate this, you know, if we need to recreate it ourselves. And so, you know, that was one of the unique challenges for sound. And then in regards for music, you know, I think the most unique challenge was actually doing the inspired by music for the different areas, for instance, because, you know, it was kind of, you know, you can't copy the melodies obviously, but, you know, you want to evoke the feel of Disney.
Right.
You want to evoke the feel of the original areas. And so, you know, how do you take you know, what is essentially Disney music and write something that still evokes the feeling of that? You know, that was definitely a very challenging thing for me as a composer.
I believe it. Yeah.
The other thing is that, you know, not everybody realizes, if you've ever done music in a map before for Minecraft, we have 0 tools for working with sound. Absolutely none. You can play a sound and you can stop a sound, and that's it. And you can like change the volume, I think, but not dynamically. It's like a one and done kind of thing. So all of those music fades and figuring out like some of those effects are locational, so that we play them at the appropriate place. So when you turn around, you hear it properly, and some of them are baked in, like we had to bake in, okay, well, this is passing you on the left, so let's put it in the left earphone, you know, the left channel. So that was also, you know, a huge part of what Kyle and the rest of the sound team worked on.
Yeah, I mean, you guys all did an amazing job. I mean, with everything, but the music especially as well, because I remember going through it, and I was even questioning myself, like, is this actual Disney music here, or is this just sounding like Disney music?
I heard you say that, and that made me so happy.
Yeah,
I got Kyle passed me some like the music, the Peter Pan music, which I think it's lovely. Like the Peter Pan music he made. It's such a beautiful piece because it really captures the feeling, which is really
Which I don't
difficult.
think you heard, actually. May I call you Andre?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I don't actually think you heard. So we have, because I don't think you played with the creator mode on.
No, I didn't, right.
Yeah, so the creator mode, we originally didn't have the Peter Pan music. We didn't have a lot of things that we got like last minute, and they were like, please put this in. And so Kyle made a Peter Pan piece, which Borja is talking about, and luckily we were able to. We have the real music in the ride, but luckily, if you have creator mode on, we're able to keep Kyle's piece in there as well.
That's cool. I'll have to go check that out. I've got, as if I needed more reasons to go back to the content. So how closely did Disney work with you on this? Like, was it a pretty constant back and forth, or were there just occasional check-ins? And did they ever have like any notes? Like, no, that's not right. We got to fix this up, or
did we have notes? We had notes coming out of our ears. They are so strict about that, and I mean, of course, I don't blame them. We can't go into too much detail again, but like, yes, we worked closely with them, and we did submit every single thing, every asset, every texture submitted for approval. I don't think I should talk about the approval process, but
sure.
Yeah.
I imagine Tien, as the art director, I imagine you were probably privy to a few of those notes. I would guess, just working on character designs and merchandise and all that.
Yeah, I mean, if you submit hundreds of assets, you're going to get a few points back. I mean, ultimately, they just want to obviously represent their properties correctly, their characters. It's all very important that we, represent those properly. So, yeah. There
was a point where Tien and I were writing privately to each other, sort of, well, I was panicking. I won't put words in your mouth. Where it was like the first bit of feedback we'd gotten back. We had submitted the entrance sign for Tomorrowland Speedway, and they came back with like a diagram showing how they wanted us to move things. They like drew on it, and they were like, "Yeah, but this color is a little bit off." And I was like, "There is we didn't build this into the schedule. We didn't build into the schedule addressing this level of detail." And we were sort of panicking. I, again, can't speak for you, but I was really panicking, like, are we going to get this level of feedback for everything? Should we talk to Disney about it or not? Is this like a taboo thing? And luckily in future notes, it was a lot more general.
Yeah, I think that Tomorrowland Speedway also was one of we did the older colors of because we used some like Google Images and stuff like that. For some stuff, and we had to rebuild the whole building with the modern colors, and I think something similar happened with the Jungle Cruise signs, because they were updating the ride just like weeks before we were working on it.
Right.
Yeah, there's been some very recent changes to a few assets, those being some of them, which have had to go through a couple of revisions just because, things update and we can't track every single one of those, and so there was a few changes, but it happens, like it's part of the process. Yeah.
One interesting note that we got was in Peter Pan, we received the feedback that and this was like after everything was approved, but we got like, oh, we missed this, sorry, where they said that we needed to change the color of the top of the mountains because they were too red. They looked like volcanoes, where only one of the mountains is a volcano.
Wow.
And we said, okay, yeah, I understand, but like we sent them a screenshot of it from multiple videos, and we're like, okay, but it's the exact right color. Like, we're looking at the real thing right now. This is correct. You're wrong. And they were like, yeah, but we need to change it anyway. So it's browner in the game than it is in real life. Presumably, this is what they wanted from the beginning, and they made a mistake. I don't know.
I think we got something similar, Tian, in the Buzz Lightyear ride with the eye that pops up from one of the.
Yes. Yeah. hours of watching videos actually ultimately made us more accurate than perhaps we needed to be in that respect, because they actually didn't realize that those assets even existed in the real ride, or they thought they were, like, in their head they were meant to look different to what they actually are in the ride. And although we were recreating it as accurately as we could, ultimately it doesn't quite fit in everyone's views of the rides or their memories of the rides, which was interesting.
Like, we know a little bit more.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Too
you might
accurate.
have the definitive versions of these rides, actually. These might be the perfect representation of them. So.
The way they were meant to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, like,
There
had-
are not a lot of examples like that, but
No,
you
no.
know.
we had to go through multiple videos because things break. Like, for example, not they break, they get one of the animatronics and they take it out to just fix it a little bit and then
Right.
put it in. So you have multiple. You're watching multiple videos. In Haunted Mansion, we are missing some ghosts that were not just a month before we did because they were fixing them. Yeah, they were just fixing them, so they didn't appear in the most updated videos we had. So they are not there just because of that. But we tried to put everything we could.
Gotcha.
Kyle, were you the one who did the sound effects for Space Mountain?
I started there, and then I think Qua took over eventually.
Okay, yeah, because I was
I
just
remember.
thinking about, I mentioned there's a lot of things in there that you don't hear in real life. There are
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many sounds.
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
that
Yeah.
one was me. That one was me. Yeah, no, that was. I don't even know. that was unreal because it was
They sent us a package of sounds like, okay, as they get it, here you go, here's the new stuff, and we're like,
I was like, wait.
imagine somebody holding a pile of papers out of work. I don't know what to do with this.
I'm imagining
Yeah,
the
I was
scene in Apollo 13 to just dump all the parts on the table and like figure it out.
There was one that was like labeled rhythm, and I'm like, what rhythm?
Rhythm?
What?
Rhythm.
Wow. So, I mean, I guess you touched on this a little bit earlier. You used a lot of video reference, of course. But yeah, when it comes to like timing these ride sounds and music and all that, like, did Disney provide much guidance on that?
So at the end of the process, when we were getting like extra stuff at the end,
right?
We got like more voiceover than we were expecting at the end, specifically for pirates, and we said like, look, to be honest, we're just too close to release here. We don't have time to do this. Like, our subtitle process is very robust, and we follow like Netflix style subtitle guidelines, trying to, improve accessibility and all that. And so like, we just don't have time to do this. So if you want this done, you're going to have to provide us with the timings, and the audio lead at Disney was very, very kind to do that himself.
Oh wow.
And provided that with us, and that's how we were able to get a lot of that audio in. But like I said when I was talking about it, it's a small world. There are some things that we wanted to make sacrifices on in order to improve the playability of the experience. Obviously Space Mountain doesn't have that many stars as it does in the ride, but you're dealing with a what's the word I'm thinking of? Proprioception, a sensory experience.
Right.
And so we had to, figure out how to adapt that. The timing of the Space Mountain rides, for the fast rides, we had to use a special technique, and they can't go as fast as they do in real life, just because of Minecraft limitations. So, I tried to get the timing as best I could on Space Mountain. It's a little bit off. Sometimes it's a little bit different when you ride it again, but for the most part, things are pretty accurate on timing.
To be fair, I think that's actually pretty accurate, that being off a little different each time, because I think, the weight of each vehicle can affect the timing
Right.
too. So really, once again, this is a very accurate portrayal of everything in the park. I guess
Life imitating art.
exactly. I guess, well, speaking of Space Mountain, any of the, rides in general, did you have blueprints you're able to work off of? Like, because some of these track designs are pretty intricate, as anyone who's seen Space Mountain with the lights on can attest to. Like, it's just like a massive steel in there, and
So most people will be surprised to learn that actually most of what we used, a ton of reference material.
Right.
Most of what we had, we got ourselves.
wow.
Just because obviously, with a company like Disney, there's all sorts of approval processes and management stuff that you have to do, and we were able to get it faster online.
Right.
Yeah.
The fan
and
sites have all the blueprints
there were
and
things
everything.
like in Jungle Cruise where they told us, like, honestly, use the videos you're seeing on YouTube because they have stuff that we don't.
Right.
We don't even know. So
I think things like the blueprints from the rides, I had folders because I'm a park fan. I really love recreating stuff in Planet Coaster. So I just had a ton of blueprints, and the Imagineering books also have maps and stuff.
How
So we used a ton of material from those at the beginning. We got a lot of stuff from Disney at the middle and at the end of the project. But at the beginning, it was a little bit of searching about stuff like screenshots and photos, and going through Google Maps, working with the people that were making the build, like Wonder, stuff like that, to make everything one-on-one, because I think it's nearly everything the map is one-on-one. Some of the buildings are a little bit bigger to fit the spaces, or to be more impressive, like the castle.
That's slightly bigger just because odd numbers aren't nice in Minecraft, but
diagonals are a little bit hard to work with on Minecraft, so we sometimes had to do a little bit of flat surfaces, so it worked a little better for some of the restaurants, for example. But it's basically a one-on-one recreation of it.
I believe almost the entire build itself was done with like online references.
Yes.
There was some discussion about I think we ended up getting it in the end, I don't know, about, I don't remember what they're called, but maybe, okay, well, I was about to say maybe we shouldn't mention it, but
It's just a
yeah. So basically 3D scans of the park, like in real life, and understandably there are like security concerns about that and other things like that. So we didn't end up getting them in time to like make use of them.
Gotcha. Were there any actual trips to Disney World at all during development, or was it purely?
I wish. We definitely would have done it if it hadn't been for COVID.
Yeah, that.
Someday we're gonna do it as a team, and it'll be great.
Was this? I was looking through some of your previous projects. You guys have done a lot of Minecraft creations. Is this the first one though that's based on a real life area, or have you had similar projects of this before? And
this is our first licensed content. So this is the first thing that's based on something.
Wow. So yeah, I imagine working on this during a pandemic probably complicated things a little bit beyond what they may have been.
I mean, not as much as you'd think. I mean, we're an entirely remote workplace anyway.
Oh, okay. Well.
And yeah, I mean, save for the additional details we would have gotten by going and checking at Disney. To be honest, I don't know how much more we would have gotten out of that.
Well, I think what you guys need to do is take a trip to Disney now and bring up Minecraft as you're visiting the park, and actually like do a one-to-one visit, both virtually.
Wear a headset while we're walking around.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly. So, real quick, you touched on a few of the rides that were missing. The only one that really stood out to me as a big fan of it was Indiana Jones. Was that
That's
something?
not in that.
It's
That's
in
not in
Disneyland.
Magic Kingdom.
It's Disneyland.
That's right. I made the same. I'm embarrassed now. I know this. I made the same mistake during the stream too. All right, we're gonna edit that part out.
You can't edit that out. That's cheating.
Yeah, actually, I think we were pretty lucky in that regard, because nothing about Star Wars or Indiana Jones or anything or Marvel is in the Magic Kingdom right now.
Even if
so
it
I don't know.
I don't think we
I
would
don't
have been
know.
able to do it.
Yeah, I
that's
don't think
more
we
people
could
to
have
get approvals from.
done them if we, like, for example, Disneyland Kinect Adventures had to erase all the Star Tours and Roger Rabbit and all that stuff. So we probably couldn't do it.
Yeah, we have a blend of some Pixar characters as well, and even then was an additional complication because it has to go through obviously different people.
And other teams, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so yeah, we're lucky in that respect that it wasn't, anything more complicated than that.
Right. Actually, that does remind me, though, of a ride that isn't there yet, but is going to be. It's in the process of being built, which is Tron. Was there any discussion at all of incorporating that in some way? I mean, maybe it is.
I wanted to add it at first.
I cannot overstate the scope of this map.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of talk particularly from fans, particularly Ridley, of like, oh man, wouldn't it be great if we could add this? Yes, that would be great, but we have a deadline. There's so much. It is insane the amount of stuff in this map, and it's hard to appreciate even just as a user.
Yeah.
Like, just thinking about Small World alone, this was an enormous thing. It is an enormous map, and Minecraft already struggles to handle what we gave it,
On Switch. I mean, I'm impressed it ran as well as it did on Switch, which I was playing
Me
it on
too,
when I did my
yeah.
tour. Yeah. So it takes, well, it's a small world, for instance. Like, that ride has so many different figures throughout it, tons of backdrops and details. I can only imagine how long that took to put together. And actually, kind of on that note, I suppose, how long did the entire project take? In fact, one of our when someone had asked, Soulcaster was asking, what was the estimated time to build everything? So I guess, yeah, when did the project roughly begin? And did it take about as long as you expected it to, or were there any challenges that came up that you weren't expecting?
Well, I mean, there are always challenges that we aren't expecting.
Yeah.
You know, it's the nature of development. But we started planning in mid-March and then finished in main work mid-October.
Okay.
We expected to be done main work at the end of September. So all things considered, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty close.
it's pretty close, yeah.
And then we continue making little tweaks up until release. Yeah, I can't remember any particular anecdotes about delays, though.
Okay. Well, I guess kind of
But any
related.
you guys?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do any of you guys have particular?
No,
things?
I think so. Actually, we wanted to add Splash Mountain at the beginning, but for different reasons we couldn't. But I think that actually cutting that ride actually improved the whole park, because we could
Also, if
add,
we hadn't cut that ride, we absolutely would not have made it on time.
Couldn't have been able to do
yeah,
everything.
it's
No,
important.
we
But
couldn't have
other-
added anything else.
It was
Other-
very tight.
Exactly, and other parts of the park were much better, like much more detailed, thanks to cutting that ride, which I love. I freaking love that ride.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, but I understand, like, we couldn't do it, and it's a pity, but it is what it is.
Kind of related then, another one of our viewers, What's Up Flapjack, asked, is there anything that you set out that you had planned initially but weren't able to fit in time? And conversely, is there anything that you worked on that ended up even better than you expected it to?
Well, yeah, Splash Mountain was one of the
Right.
things we did, but I think
Did
Buzz
we plan
Lightyear.
Barnstormer? I don't remember.
No, I don't think it was in the plans.
There was talks, but
Yeah,
it wasn't-
completely.
Yeah.
Because it's just like a coaster, and we said, okay, it's not that important, and coasters are more difficult to make in Minecraft, to make them fun, I think. But like we had also, like I think TRS and me wanted Carousel of Progress.
That would be my dream, but we
Yeah.
would have had to take twice as long. I mean, we would have had to cut everything else in order to do Carousel of Progress.
Yeah, I wanted the train, for example, because I know how important the train is for the parks, for the Disney parks. Like, everything has to be surrounded by a
Right.
train. But it's things like, oh, but it's really boring. Like, yeah, it's great in real park, but maybe half of the ride it's really boring to be there. Things like the People Mover. People love the People Mover. It's like a super loved ride in the Magic Kingdom. But it's a ride for relaxing, and I don't think that can be captured as well in Minecraft. But I think one of the things we thought wasn't going to look as good. Buzz Lightyear, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Haunted Mansion. Those look amazing. Like, the final results of them look even much better than I thought that they will never have looked. Like,
So
they're
what happened
incredible.
with Pirates was the person who worked on that, the developer of that ride, which was RPG Grenade, or Jaime. I don't actually know how to say.
Echeverria.
I don't know how to say his last name. Yeah.
Jaime Echeverria.
Yes. Thank you.
Echeverria.
Thank you. He worked on that, and he was sort of the first one to really put in these like interesting fogs. And I saw it for the first time. I was like, this is a masterclass in atmosphere in Minecraft. It's unbelievable. I've never seen like an atmosphere captured so well in a map. And so we were like, oh, this is actually really good. We should go back and make sure all of our other stuff looks this good. There are occasionally concerns about, like, does this look way better than everything else? Is that a problem? And so, yeah, we went back. I had RPG also work on adding in like extra lights at the intro and outro of Space Mountain, because that wasn't really up to snuff. Yeah, so we went back through. There were a lot of nice little surprises that the developers gave us of like, I didn't know you were going to do that. That's lovely. Yeah.
They're like I say, they're genius. Really, they surprise me every time. Not only this map, in other maps, they always surprise. I think with the little details they add.
That's not to say that the rest of the teams don't as well.
No,
the sound
no.
team, the art team,
No,
writing,
everyone
has got that.
okay.
That's one of the great things about Everbloom is that everybody has that mentality or is positioned in such a way that they want to do these little surprising things, not for like necessarily for recognition or anything, but just because they are so passionate and they want it to be there.
Yeah, like for example, I want to also talk about the work Anna and Maya did on the models and animations for some of the rides. I think Maya did the animations for the characters going around the park.
There's
Right.
a mixture. Both
Everything
Anna
was a
and Maya
mixture,
worked.
really. Yeah.
Yeah, like
and
everyone worked on
everyone
most
worked
things, to be honest.
But Anna
and
did
they
do lip syncing for the entire
Mansion.
song of the heads,
Yeah.
and I actually didn't know that she did that. I thought it was just like random because it was offset when I got it. So she told me at the end, like right before release, hey, the lip sync isn't quite right. And I was like, I didn't know you did that. Let's quickly fix it before release. So now it's properly lip synced.
Yeah, I think that one of the first concept I made were for Haunted Mansion, and that's where I just write, like, I don't know what the team is gonna surprise me with, so I just write, oh, this will be great with lip sync, like the bride or the fate, like the busts in Haunted Mansion, and I just write, oh, this will be perfect with lip sync, like if we could, okay, and then Anna comes and says, yeah, here it is, it's done.
Yeah, I can't stress how incredible the detail is of this entire thing. I've been to Disney World, over a dozen times, and everything was living up to my memory, and that really blew me away. I'm like, this is the most impressive thing I've seen in not just Minecraft, almost anything at this point.
Thank you.
So I guess to that point, from spending so much time investing yourself, like in looking at reference and rebuilding these attractions and lands, is there anything that surprised you about the actual design or workmanship of these areas or the rides? Like, did anything surprise you or impress you, or anything that you didn't quite expect until you dived in this deep and really analyzed how these things are working together?
I think for me, the level of detail and the number of assets and the amount of planning that goes into these rides. Like, I don't have much experience in kind of theme parks. I have been to Disney World once when I was quite young, but outside of that, you notice a lot of just the sheer amount of details that go into these rides, with the decorations and the characters. Like, everything is so perfectly designed and thought out, and as well as like viewing angles, perspective tricks, all these things which, as a general just park goer, you wouldn't realize, you don't know until you actually kind of delve into like the background of that and how these kind of things were created. So that really stuck out to me when planning, which obviously took days and days to do, along with Ridley. And it was great having Ridley on board because he can kind of teach me about that, and because he knows everything there is to know about the parks, really.
Yeah, if I'm not surprised about the work that went into the real theme parks, is because I already was surprised when I read the books and I watch the documentaries about them. Like, oh my God, this Imagineer is like the Imagineers are the old ones and the modern ones. They did such amazing jobs at these rides, and a lot of this stuff is made to ride it more than once. So you see these small details here, and then you ride it a second time, and then you see this new figure here that you didn't see, but it was always there. So it's an incredible thing to have, and it's really difficult because that's more assets we need to work on. And I'm sure it was super difficult for the real Imagineers to do, but they wanted to elevate their craft, I suppose, at the time. Like, if you see the documentaries with Walt Disney and the other Imagineers, like you see them talking super passionately about how they designed all this stuff, how they did all. Oh well, we had two Imagineers making Haunted Mansion, and one had this idea of making it fun, and the other had this idea of making it scary. okay, but their ideas collided, and then they just mix them together to create this ride that at first is really scary. Well, not it's scary, and then the last part is really fun.
It's no Snow White.
Oh my God, Snow White! It's really scary.
I wish that was there so we could have done that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I was mostly involved at a big picture level. But there were a couple of things that I did directly. Those are basically just Space Mountain and the fireworks show, which obviously Kyle will, can talk more about. But I suppose this is sort of a very minor thing, but given the fact that we did a one-to-one recreation, I'm surprised by how little space there is between the front and the back of the castle, and the fact that they have to have fireworks reliably going off every night that are safe. Because I did a lot of tricks with the perspective in the fireworks show, so they're not launching from realistic places. Mm-hmm. Some of them are just launching from the middle of the air. But having to think about how would you actually execute that, there's very little space, and it's very surprising what they're able to do.
Right. Yeah, the fireworks shows are, of course, one of the classic things at Disney. There's such a fun way of kind of ending the day. And I think I did that in the stream too. I actually started off with the fireworks. I think it ended with the fireworks again. So I definitely heard a lot of the music that I believe you composed, Kyle, for that, right?
Yes, I did.
And go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, one of my favorite things from your stream about it is after you listen to the first minute, you were like, all right, that was it. And then after the next one, you're like, that was it. It's that was it.
Yeah, that seems to be a reaction from a lot of people. It was
so
originally
good.
going to be longer.
Wow.
It was going to be 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I had not even considered the idea of people weren't going to want to sit for that long until after release. It was oh wow, people are actually getting bored of this sometimes. I'm just amazed. But it's been a lifelong dream of mine to design ever since I was a kid and I first saw at Disney fireworks shows. I was I really want to make one for Disney one day, and I got to.
No, I love that. No, the fact that it was as long as it was essentially the length of a full fireworks show.
It was 5 minutes, and the real thing is I think 7 to 10. But
see, that's close.
the show that I modeled it after was 18, if I remember.
Oh yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, 18 minutes.
It was 18, yeah.
They're really long.
Yes.
Yeah, but people like to watch fireworks in real life, and I don't think they like so much to
feel
see
it.
virtual fireworks. Yeah, I think it's the feeling and being the whole day there, the real thing, all the emotions of listening the music from your favorite movies and listening to the music from your favorite rides, because sometimes they do this. My favorite show, it's the 15th anniversary show from Disneyland, which takes you through a whole day through the park in a fireworks show. Mm-hmm. And that's beautiful for me, because it's the things you have felt during the day, you are going to feel them one last time at night, and it put a little bit of goosebumps, I think every Disney fan.
I think on that note, that is actually something that did surprise me that I didn't expect, is just through the act of recreation with no additional magic dust, that we were able to, one of the greatest things for me is seeing the reactions of people to the fireworks show. So many people get emotional during it, including myself. When I saw the final product for the first time, I was I worked on this, and there's nothing magical about it, but it just feels so inherently magical and emotional. And I was just surprised by how the culmination, more than the sum of its parts, both the real thing and this map, I think, was able to capture that, is that it really gets to you.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that. I think I'm pretty sure I felt this exact same thing when I was streaming it, because yeah, it hits an emotional note that few things are able to, and the fact that you captured that in Minecraft is super impressive. So
I do think that's largely due to Kyle's work on the music, though. That has a huge impact on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Kyle, can you tell us just a little bit more about the process for that? I know you mentioned a little bit earlier talking about the general land themes, but when it came to the fireworks show, was there anything in particular you kept in mind when trying to, I guess emulate, for lack of a better word, without duplicating, a typical Disney fireworks show?
Yeah, so it was probably the hardest track I've written of my life, to put it bluntly, because there was a lot of planning that I had to do for it. And initially, like, I had wanted to make it ideally 6 minutes longer if possible. And I had felt like, around this length, I could include, some other themes from the fireworks show that, I had really liked. The tricky thing about it, though, was how do I get a variety of styles without keep it cohesive, and make it so that it doesn't sound, too jarring from one section to another section. And so, I tried to focus on kind of the popish sections that they have at the beginning. I tried to focus on, I probably shouldn't say what specific, I modeled after, but, I tried to make sure that I focused on, one from this movie, this other movie, and then go through, kind of just
You can say the show that it's based on.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
for reference.
Brave, for instance, was one of them. Hunchback was in the show, and so I referenced Hunchback. Stuff like that. There was a short Lion King.
To be clear, legally, these are references and inspirations.
References, yes.
This is not the actual thing.
Yes.
Not representing these properties.
Correct. But then I remember, and Ridley helped me through this a lot. And then, he would go back and forth with me, and we would talk about this. And then finally, we came up with, okay, this is what, this is going to be inspired by. And then, I went and I wrote the whole track. I think it was like 10 days. It was like a sprint.
Wow.
To write the whole thing. I recorded saxophone for the jazz section. Did all stuff like that. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. And watching people's, reception to it, has just been, it's been truly, truly an honor. So
yeah, I love that. Like, yeah, it, like I said, like, I was confused. I'm like, is this actually the music, or is it just spot on? It was very impressive. So I guess kind of on that note, to wrap things up a little bit here, I guess I'd be curious to hear what everyone's favorite element of this content of theirs it was to work on. What was your favorite thing to work on for this? And also, to kind of tie it into, if you've been to Disney, what's your favorite general Disney ride as well? So I don't know who wants to start off here.
I'll start just because we're already talking about the fireworks, and I'll mention the work behind that. So obviously, I'm biased because I worked on it, but the fireworks show is my favorite thing because like Ridley said, it takes all those feelings from around the whole park and condenses them into like a feeling. But it was also very challenging. I wish we'd planned it from the beginning, but I had Kyle basically distill the entire track into MIDI files of each instrument, and then because it doesn't translate that cleanly with undertones and overtones, I had to cut out different frequencies at different parts of the song, of different instruments, until I sort of reduced it to something I was happy with. I converted all of the notes themselves into elements in a timeline for planning it, and that's how I was able to time it perfectly. And so then basically going back through, adjusting the color, adjusting the type, figuring out exactly where everything was going to go. And I'm really happy with that. But to be fair, something other than myself from the artist end, the murals in the castle, and from the developer end, the whole Buzz Lightyear experience.
Yeah, real quick, actually, Buzz Lightyear, it blew my mind when I realized that was fully playable. You can actually play, it's an interactive ride where you're shooting targets. I'm like, my god, this is exactly like the real thing. So that was really fun.
And your favorite ride, TRS? Your real favorite ride?
Oh, my real favorite ride
right,
is the Carousel of Progress.
Yes, I love that.
Because, yeah, I've always loved that. And I'm trying to remember, I don't think I was alive for when they briefly had a different song.
I didn't even know about that. Wow.
They briefly had a different song.
In Magic Kingdom. They did a song for Magic Kingdom differently from Disneyland. And then when the Disneyland show disappeared because it's not there anymore, they added because it was another company, the one that did the show, that put the money into the show. So when that company disappeared, they actually put the Disneyland version, which is much better, I think, in my opinion. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow into the
classic
Carousel of Progress.
All right, who wants to go next? Do you want to pick it up right there?
Okay, I can go next. So my probably I was most excited to work in the Haunted Mansion because from the classic Disney parks is my favorite ride. But probably my favorite ride, like from the older Disney parks, like the studios, it's Tower of Terror.
Yes.
Twilight Zone Tower of Terror that here.
Oh, I didn't know we could choose other parks.
Oh well, you can
You choose whatever you want.
I would say the Muppets 3D.
Oh, the Muppets 3D is great.
Love that too.
That was the only time I've ever had 3D work for me.
So yeah, it was pretty exciting working in Haunted Mansion because I loved that ride when I went and saw it. I also love the French version, the Phantom Manor, and something I wanted to because this is something that was a lot of like we had to work a lot of time with it and we spent a lot of time. I wanted to talk about Murphy. That's one of the artists. He made Country Bear Jamboree, which he actually had to make storyboards for it, like for a new ending, because it was not because we had to only use one song, and he did an amazing work on it, and also on the whole map of the park. It's completely redone, so that's redone from scratch by me and Murphy, and I want to just elevate his work a little bit here because he did. We worked a lot of hours on that map, and it's more detailed than the real one. Like if you see Big Thunder Mountain has the real railway where it goes and everything.
Oh wow!
So if fans want to zoom in the map, you can see a little bit on the map. So I wanted to elevate a little bit his work. But yeah, probably Haunted Mansion was, and I also did a ton of concept art for Haunted Mansion. Maybe someday can be shown if Disney wants. But it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Working on that.
How about you, Tian?
My personal favorite thing which I like to work on was probably the characters, just because like when are you going to get the opportunity to work directly with Disney to recreate their characters?
Yeah, Mickey Mouse. They're pretty uptight about Mickey Mouse, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like they obviously are very precious about their characters, so that process was really good. My favorite kind of rides from the park, as in our park. God, there's so much I could call out for art, honestly. Buzz Lightyear, I think, just doesn't even look like Minecraft anymore. It's mind-blowing. The effects that we had with the like kind of the 2D pixel art, which we then extruded to form all these different like formations in the second or third room, were incredible, and throughout the ride as well. Really consistent, interesting art style there, which we recreated really well. Peter Pan's flight as well, the atmosphere on that ride is incredible. There is like a really amazing showcase of this giant ship with all the characters on in one of the final sections of that ride, which I think is exceptional. And then there's so much more as well. There's like the food, like all the small details like that, the merchandise from Farian, one of our texture artists. He did an amazing job in recurating all this Disney food. Which was really
Quick call
fun.
out, if you're watching this and you're like, I didn't see any merchandise or food, there's a bug right now where you can't get it sometimes on console. We're trying as hard as we can to fix it. It's tough.
People need
Sorry,
their churros.
Yeah, you want your pickles. As for my favourite ride in the parks itself, like I said, I went ages ago, but I really enjoyed Peter Pan's flight in that as well, which is probably why, I really wanted to do that, be involved with that ride in the park.
It's a classic. That's why it's still around after all these years. One of the few original Fantasyland rides still at Disney World. They replaced most of the others, so...
And the longest queue at the parks.
Yeah, after all these years, it's nuts. How about you, Kyle? What was your favorite thing to work on, a favorite ride?
Yeah, so my favorite thing to work on was obviously the fireworks show, but I already talked about that a bit, but I want to talk about something else, actually. I don't think I've actually told anybody this, but the thing that I worked on that meant the most to me was actually Dumbo. Believe it or not, I wrote the music for the Dumbo area, and that's probably kind of surprising. And the fact that's meant so much to me. But so
I remember this.
Yeah, so I had a history of going to the parks quite a bit when I was younger, and the first time I went when I was 6, my parents always tell me this story of how I annoyed them because I always wanted to go on Dumbo over and over and over and over again. And And so now it's like, I hate, I don't say I hate the ride, but, I don't like the ride. It's a spinning ride, and I don't like spinning rides necessarily. And so, but, actually being able to realize, oh, I can write this music that, I have this kind of interesting memory of when I was younger, really, that kind of meant a lot to me, and that kind of really made it real. And then also the other thing about Dumbo that for me is very personal is, my background and what I was originally going to do before I wrote music was become a band director and a band teacher, and my degrees are in music education and saxophone performance. And so I have a very big upbringing with wind ensemble, and I've played in wind ensembles for 20 years or so. And when I was referencing the Dumbo music, I realized this is just Sousa. This is just Sousa music. I can write a Sousa march. And so, one of my personal dreams is to score a whole cinematic game using only wind ensemble, no strings. And so, this was the first time I was ever to write a track that only used brass, woodwinds, percussion, and just take out all the strings, period. And so, for me, that was an incredibly personal track that was, it was really fun to write. So, as for my favorite ride, favorite thing in the map, it's really a toss-up between Pirates and Haunted Mansion. Like, those are both so good, and like whenever I show people, it's always one of those two that I go to first.
Yeah, it's tough to choose between those two. So
yeah.
Well, that is awesome to hear about all your experiences and memories from the parks and working on it and helping to recreate it. So I want to thank you all again for making this amazing content. It's the Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom Adventure, available now in the Minecraft Marketplace, I believe on every platform. It's amazing. I do have to ask one more thing before we leave, and that is, do you think you might make any more Disney parks? Like, is there a chance we could see more?
We can neither confirm nor deny the existence of any future plans or not. If you want more content like this, you should support it by buying it, sharing it with your friends, and telling Disney that you'd like more.
There you go. Yeah, do that, please. Tell Disney you want more of this, because I want more of it. So, all right. Well, again, I want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your day for telling us sharing your experiences with us. It's been a blast. I love checking out on stream. I encourage everyone to check out the content right now. You'll find links about all of that in the description below, as well as to anyone's personal Twitter here. If you want to share it, I'll post that in the link or in the description below. And with that, I think we're about done here. So thank you again, everyone, for both watching and checking out our content here. And again, you'll find links to everything we talked about in the description below. So with that, we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.